Welcome to the Character Advantage podcast, where sport and the human spirit collide. Because the game will end, but the growth lasts forever. The scoreboard is temporary, the heart is forever. Here's your host, Coach Dan Williams.
Hey everyone, Coach Dan here. If I asked you what separates athletes from those who grow from athletes who stall, what would you say? I think most people would say that the difference is between talent or maybe their work ethic or even their confidence. And yes, those things matter. But underneath all of them is something quieter, and it's far more powerful. It's what I call humble coachability. Now, when I say humble coachability, I'm not talking about that athlete who nods politely every time a coach talks or speaks or a parent speaks to them. I'm not talking about that kind of athlete that always says, "Yes, coach," and then keeps doing the same thing. No, real coachability is a posture of the heart. It's that willingness to be shaped. And today, I want to show you why humble coachability is the first step in what I call the character advantage culture continuum. It's how character actually turns into team chemistry over time. So, I want to be clear. Humble coachability is not a weakness. It's not being passive, and it's definitely not this blind obedience or asking an athlete to be that. No, it's being and having the courage to say, I don't have it all figured out, but I'm willing to learn. It shows up when feedback doesn't always come across the way you want it. Maybe it stings, or maybe that correction that you're receiving in that moment, well, it comes at an inconvenient time. You see, growth often comes at the cost of our own comfort. And the most coachable athletes, this is what I've seen and what I've experienced, aren't the ones who need the least coaching. They're the ones who respond best to it. And they're the ones who, they always start with humility. Their response always starts there. So here's what this connects to. It connects to something bigger. And in the character advantage framework, we talk about a culture continuum. It's how teams, or even actually your family, how they form. And what it looks like is this. It starts with character, and character leads to attitudes, and attitudes lead to standards, and standards lead to culture, and culture leads to chemistry. Now, let me slow it down and go one layer at a time. So character, it shapes our inner posture. And that posture forms our attitudes. And our attitudes repeated become standards. And our standards lived out over time create culture. And culture produces real sustainable chemistry. Now, most teams try to start at chemistry. They want that connection. They want to feel that unity. They want to build that trust. And so they do activities and different things to try to simulate that or to create that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But chemistry is an outcome. It's not a starting point. And humble coachability is one of the first attitudes that makes the whole continuum move. And here's why this matters. It's because you can't build standards if no one is willing to be shaped. And you can't build culture if feedback is being resisted. And you can't build chemistry if pride keeps people from growing together. You see, coachability is what keeps potential from hitting a ceiling. Now, I've coached some incredibly talented athletes over the years, but some of them have stopped growing not because they lacked ability, but because they stopped listening. And I've also coached some pretty average athletes, but they became exceptional because they stayed teachable much longer than anyone else. You see, humble coachability keeps that door open. So, what does humble coachability look like on a real team or even in your family? It looks like this. It looks like receiving correction without becoming defensive. Now, there's a lot of athletes I've coached who immediately become defensive, and that's their growth edge. Or it's asking questions instead of making excuses. How many times have you done that, make an excuse for something? Or it's applying that feedback that you're receiving quickly. Now, it's not being perfect, it's just being intentional with that feedback. And it's letting your effort match the instruction you're receiving. So for parents, it could look like this, reinforcing what the coach's voice is saying and reinforcing that at home when you're with them. Or for coaches, it could look like correcting with clarity and care. And for athletes, it looks like maybe choosing growth over your own ego. So here's the takeaway. If you want better culture, you don't start with slogans or even team building activities or even just spending time together. It's not that those things are bad. You just need to stack your culture continuum in the proper order. You need to start with attitudes. And if you want one attitude to anchor everything else to, you need to start with humble coachability. Because when humility opens the door, growth walks in. Standards take shape, culture forms, and chemistry becomes real. That's the character advantage. And this is how teams learn to win from the inside out. I'm Coach Dan. Thanks for listening.